refugees sometimes are people without their own place, or they have some kind of trouble in the place of their dwelling, and they are seeking refuge in a place where they can have protection. And once they are in that place, in that city, in that environment, no harm can come. No harm can come to them or come against them, because they are protected by the city which they have become a part of. So we see that the Bible tells us that God had commanded Joshua, even in the Old Testament, to build 6 cities of refuge once they crossed over the Jordan River into the land of Canaan. They had to have 6 cities. Now, what were these cities for? These cities were for a certain group of people who maybe you committed something, you did something wrong accidentally. And maybe let's just read Joshua chapter number 6 and starting to read from verse number 1. We will read only up to verse number 6. The Bible says, "The Lord also spoke to Joshua, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, Appoint for yourselves cities of refuge, of which I spoke to you through Moses, that the slayer who kills a person accidentally or unintentionally may flee there, and they shall be your refuge from the avenger of blood. And when he flees to one of those cities and stands at the entrance of the gate of the city and declares his case in the hearing of the elders of that city, they shall take him into the city as one of them and give him a place that he may dwell among them. Then if the avenger of blood pursues him, they shall not deliver the slayer into their hand, because he struck his neighbor unintentionally, but did not hate him beforehand." So we see something here, that there were cities that God actually ordained, and if you did something wrong, you specifically killed someone accidentally, then you would run to these cities. And the Bible gives an example to say, for example, maybe you were wielding an axe, you were in the forest with a group of brothers, and you are cutting down a tree, but then the axe head slips out of the axe, and the axe head goes, maybe hits someone, and they die. You did not intentionally plan to kill the person, so you are not necessarily guilty of the sin, because it was accidental. So the person does die, but then you had no intention to kill them. God created these cities for certain mistakes that people would commit, that they would do to have a protection. He created these cities. He asked Moses to create these cities that the people would have protection. And these cities were to be known as cities of refuge. And of course, the people who sought asylum would be called refugees. In the event that someone actually committed murder, or rather not murder, but killed someone unintentionally, they would have to go into those cities, and it would be a protection for them. So this was basically for what the law calls a manslayer. Now, if you don't know what a manslayer is a person who does commit murder, but he did not premeditate it. He did not plan it. He did not hate the person before. He did not scheme the person's death. It is just something that happened accidentally. He still killed a person, but then it was not intentional. And the Bible has a name for this. It does not call it murder, but it calls it manslaughter, or a manslayer, so that you are not guilty of murder because you had no intention previously, or the other word that is used in the law is malice aforethought. You did not have malice against a brother. You did not premeditate. You did not plan it. So when a person did not plan this thing, God created refuge cities such that the avenger of blood, because how it worked was, if you murdered someone, there was an avenger of blood appointed in every city who would go to seek out the person who had killed another, and the avenger of blood was responsible for killing the person who had killed the friend. So this was very important and very necessary, that there is law and order in Israel. Now, sometimes even the relatives of the person could go get the brother, get the person who killed someone, and they would have them stoned to death. But when the person ran into the city of refuge, nothing could be done to them. Now, why am I telling you this story or this Bible passage about being a refugee? You see, in our lives, sometimes we commit sins that we were unintentional. We did something wrong. We did not see it from the perspective of the other people. We thought in our own eyes it was right to do. However, it turns out that it was actually not right to do. It was something wrong. Or sometimes we do something accidentally, something that we did not know because we were never taught that this was wrong, and we find out it is actually wrong. So in these moments, God becomes the city of refuge. But you may say, oh, well, what about those who sin